and action.
Mark here from Mark 2.0, another great Mark 2.0 podcast episode. We bring on actor Charlie Moore from the South Carolina area, Charleston, South Carolina area.
Charlie Moore, thank you.
Charlie, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Great.
I wanted to start out by talking about a film you were in, The Light We Save. Explain what it's about and what your role was in it.
It's basically I call it a sci-fi thriller. Sean Morgan wrote it and directed it with Movie Films. It was his idea. So it's a little sci-fi, a little hide and seek, and might be an alien involved in there too.
I like that.
Yeah, it hasn't been released yet, so I can't say a lot. But this is the poster. I did make the poster.
Oh,
wow.
Excellent.
Yeah. So it's in he's editing it now and putting it all together. So it should be released pretty soon.
Gosh, so in a month or so or less, or
it's this was a pilot. He wants to do a series.
Wow. Oh gosh. I hope you come back so we can kind of follow this step by step. That'd be a treat.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, great. Well, I'd like to know about his background, Mark. You want to ask him anything before I do something like that?
No, let's go for it.
So, what are your parents like? Where were they born?
I'm basically right here from Charleston, South Carolina. I actually live on my grandparents' farm. I took that over after they passed.
We sure have a great accent. I tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Where did you go to school?
Right here at Berkeley High School, in Moncks Corner, South Carolina.
That's awesome. So you just went straight into what did you do before you acted? Did you just do anything else?
Most of my life, I actually worked on boats, rigging boats and marine electronics. That's what I did for a career.
How long did you do that?
Back when I was a teenager, they did a movie here a long time ago called Swamp Thing.
Oh,
Adrian Barbeau.
Oh my God.
Remember that?
Listen, you have to hear this story. We have someone on who was on the series, and everybody knew all about the series, but I know about the movie. I knew nothing about this series. So this is going to be a treat for me. So go on, please.
Well, I was young then and I didn't really get involved, but I knew some people was in it, long story short, I had a taste for the movies, but it was just not something you could do here very often. It was so hit and miss,
Oh, yeah.
And so years ago, I got my first background gig on Army Wives. My stepson had a role on that, and he talked me into trying it, and I just fell in love with being on set.
Oh, man. Yeah, it must be a real treat.
It was. I had coffee with Catherine Bell one night, and that was it. I was hooked.
Wow.
But I had a full-time job, and I had to go back to my job, so it was just years later. Jessica Biel had a show here with Bill Pullman called The Sinner. It was their pilot episode, and I was able to do stand-in for him and got back into it. And I eventually quit my job and started acting full-time about 6 years ago.
Wow. So total, how long were you at your old job?
I was in the boat business for 16 years.
That's a good run. All right. And so 6 years ago you quit. And so that was your first real experience. Can you elaborate? What was that like? I mean,
for me, it was awesome. Be honest with you, I didn't know a lot about stand-in, but I knew I wanted to do it just from going online and reading, what the duties were and what was expected of you. And after I did it for a season with that, I loved it. And I followed that up with 2 seasons of Mr. Mercedes as Hodges stand-in and double and stunt driver.
Wow.
Precision driver.
So you're doing some stunts?
Just precision driving, no real stunts.
Yeah.
But yeah,
a little bit dangerous. Yeah.
Right.
That's cool.
So anyway, that led me. I don't know if you guys know Tuesday BB. She's from here in Charleston also.
I've never heard of her.
Yeah, she's a pretty well-known actress, especially in this area. But she had a role on Army Wives. Mr. Mercedes. And she offered some acting classes. Her and her boyfriend at the time was Terry Serpico. You might know him from Army Wives too, and a bunch of Westerns. Wow. Anyway, I had classes with them, and they turned me on to the steps I needed to take to actually get into more acting. And that was a mouthful right there. That was 3 years worth of education in one class.
You know, we get a lot of people watching these things, I think, because they're seeing people like you and they're kind of breaking it down. And it seems pretty common. Well, they went in there and they had some good luck and a good feel for what was going on, and somebody noticed them like you did, you know, and then they turned around and sought a little bit of instruction, you know. So so you say you actually, I mean, you actually did that for 3 years. You took like classes or just like?
Yes, I pretty much picked up any background gig, anything I could find. I did a lot of little indie films. I did a lot of SCAD films, and I had classes with Mark McCullough. He taught me a lot up in Georgia about how to audition, and that really set things off when I learned how to video audition. That's what it's all about, you know.
Sure.
That's awesome.
How did you get Buck DEA?
So this is the poster here off of Buck DEA. The writer director is Joe Montanti up in Wilmington, North Carolina. I actually was doing background up there and met him, and he had mentioned he wanted to do an indie film. I said, yeah, whenever you get it together, give me a call. So it was probably 3 years later, a good 2 years later, maybe even 3. He called me up and he goes, hey, I got something written. I got you to lead if you want it. You want to audition for it? And I was like, yeah, sure. So we talked about it. I went up there and read it and rehearsed it, and we kind of wrote the ending half of it together. And you know, through problems with actors and locations, a lot of it gets changed as you're filming it. But I think it's going to be a pretty good film. He's already edited. We're about to premiere it, hopefully October, November.
And where's the premiere going to be at?
We're going to do one in Wilmington and one somewhere in the Charleston area, because most of the actors were from Charleston, and probably half of the film was shot here, and then the rest is in Wilmington. So we want to do both.
What's the distance between Charleston and Wilmington?
I'm pretty much in the middle. Where I'm at, I am 45 minutes from Charleston. I'm about 2.5 hours to Wilmington. I'm about 2.5 hours to Savannah, and about 3 hours to Charlotte. So I'm pretty central right here.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. If I've ever moved, it'd be probably to Georgia, but then I'm limited on South Carolina and North Carolina films, you know, without travel.
And we've heard that it's starting to boom again over there in the Carolinas. It's starting to boom in the Carolinas with work.
Yeah. Yes, we are. OBX is still here. Well, they went to the Bahamas for a while, but they're back now for a little while longer. The Righteous Gemstones is here for a while. I've been doing background on that. And actually, I'm filming on that Thursday, has background. And I just picked up about 3 months ago, and I did have an audition for Gemstones. I didn't book it, but that's pretty good to get an audition that quick, I think.
Sure, awesome. That's unreal.
Yeah. So Laura Chin, I don't know if you guys heard of Florida Girls. It was
I've heard of it, yeah.
A couple years ago. It was hilarious. It was real funny. But the writer, director of that is bringing them on to Charleston. She's about to start up, I think, in 2 weeks. So that should be good.
That's awesome. How long did it take to shoot that last thing that we were
Buck DEA?
Oh yeah. How long? Yeah.
Because it's an indie film and it's a small production, it took us nearly a year to film that whole thing.
Wow. That is a long time. Yeah. But that's well, you know, if you're gonna do it right, I mean, that's a lot of love to put into that. So that's gonna be pretty awesome, I think. Yeah.
It is. And there was some traveling involved, you know, and we had actors from out of state that have to get together. It's a lot of logistics to doing that.
Can you give us a little insight as to what went on, like some struggles that they had to endure through? Couple of stories or something?
I'll tell you a funny story.
Yes, please.
With motels, we had a couple of motel scenes. It was, you know, it's supposed to be the sketchy motel, of course, just like you would imagine. Every time we go to a motel to ask her to rent it to film a movie, the first thing they say is, "How many people and no porn?"
I love it.
I was kind of scared. It was kind of scary that they actually had to mention that, and you know, I mean, how much of that is really going on?
Yeah, that is scary. It sure is.
Especially in the Carolinas.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of caught me off guard. I was like, oh, okay. Now I know what to look for. You know, only 2 people can go get a room. We can't take the whole crew. You know.
Oh, brother.
Well, I'm sure the damage is highly reduced in that equation, just overall.
we went to one motel to film a scene from Buck DEA, and I was in the scene. And of course, I got there a little early, and I was in uniform. I'm in a costume, you know. I didn't have a badge on, but I had everything else, and I had a DEA cap on. As soon as they saw that, they kicked us out. No, y'all got to go. You cannot film here dressed like that.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's
Oh
I
my
love it.
gosh.
I mean, I see where they're coming from though, but that's
Yeah, I guess so. You know, I mean, you know, some of your patrons are not too happy about that.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. Oh, yeah, they should have thought that through, you know, ahead of time.
Yeah.
So can you tell us more about your YouTube page, please, Charlie?
Yeah, so back when COVID hit, pretty much filming around this area just about shut down. And
Sounds familiar.
I picked up a job with a friend of mine landscaping to kind of help him out and keep myself in shape. But I was getting rusty on acting. So I called a friend of mine that I met doing this Buck film and asked her if she wanted to make a little horror film. Just me and her, my wife filming it, and a friend of ours running lights.
Oh, a horror film.
I have to show you a picture of a flashlight on a fiberglass pole. That's our light.
That is great. That is great.
Really, I mean, if you watch it, it's really grainy and gritty, but it was perfect for what we were doing. So we filmed a little film. I think it's 3 to 5 minutes long, something like that. And then I had other friends that hit me up. Hey, I want to play. I want to get in on that. So I ended up doing 6 of the little series. I call it the Creepy Man series.
What is this YouTube channel called?
It's CS Moore, all caps.
And there's horror, guys. There's horror movies on this channel, guys. See, what's gonna happen is this is gonna take over your life, Charlie. I've seen puppets go to 25 million subscribers.
Right. It's more of a thriller.
I've seen Nintendo step in because they were using their puppets and they're driving Lamborghinis around. Okay.
Right,
if you're doing little horror movies, I'm telling you, Charlie, this can be really cool.
And look at all those horror cons out there, convention, you know.
Oh yeah, I know.
There's no more better fans, and who doesn't like amateur things better than the horror guys, you know?
Right.
You got the good ideas, Charlie, and you're gonna go like a rocket. I know it.
I'm steadily working on it. You know, it's a lot of fun, and you know, the horror films are easy to shoot too. Well, check Halloween, for instance. They filmed the whole thing in 21 days.
Oh,
it's pretty amazing.
I didn't know that. Gosh.
Yeah. They did one in Wilmington, one in Charleston, and one in Savannah. Each of them took 3 weeks.
That is awesome. You should watch our last video. It has a great Halloween story in it. Anyway, but so what are you going to do next on this channel? I want to promote this channel.
Okay, so the Creepy Man series is basically 6 scenes shot individually as a short story. The last one I'm editing now, I hadn't released it, but when I do, then I'm going to put them together in order to make one film. And I have some, some B-roll stuff and some extra scenes that I shot to add into that last feature film. It won't be a feature film, but it'll be a long short, I guess you could call it.
You should probably just keep adding and adding to it, and you'll get a bunch of fans to see where the story goes. I think
probably
people love that.
The way I shot it is I kind of the first scene we shot was kind of in the middle of the story. So then I shot the end and then the beginning. You got me?
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna put it all together and make sense out of it, and then we can continue on. So of course I left the last episode open.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Smart. That's right. Wow, that's pretty awesome. That's gonna keep you busy then.
I hope so. It's fun. It's good practice, nothing else. You know, that's something else about this business. You can stand in front of a camera or in front of a mirror, but unless you have a few people around in a small crew, you really can't practice. You know, you can't bring a character to life by yourself so easy.
Yeah. Do you shoot a lot of video for getting yourself out there? I mean, sending out and stuff like that.
I don't do a lot of self-promotion stuff like that. I do auditions, and then I help the producers and directors in this area with their little indie films as much as possible, like with The Light and with Buck. And there's another one a guy's fixing to start up that it's just talk right now, so I'm not going to mention it, but it's going to be a good little indie film in Charleston too that the locals can play on.
And what are auditions like nowadays?
I kind of like video auditions. It's pretty tough trying to, like I said, bring a character together in front of a camera. It's easier for me if I have 2 or 3 people in the room I can play on.
Oh,
But the good thing is you can do it until you like it and edit it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought about that.
Yeah. You really get to play it. They very seldom tell you exactly what they want. You don't get a backstory with your character. You have to kind of just play it the way you want to play it, the way you think it would work, and go with it.
are you using big media at all, or big tech to get your name out there? Twitter, Facebook, that sort of thing?
Well, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and of course YouTube. That's the main 3.
Yeah, yeah. Is there any other stuff on that channel that people can see?
Let's see. Yeah, there are some smaller indie films that I did. The Slammer, you said you saw the Slammer, I think.
I did see that one.
Yeah. That was pretty good.
So why don't you guys talk about that? I didn't see that. What's that?
It was a short film we did here in Charleston. It was based on John and Lavinia Fisher, that was caretakers of an inn just outside of Charleston back in the 1800s. And they convicted them without evidence and pretty much without a jury of highway robbery. And they hung both of them. And they confessed they held to their innocence till the second they died. And we just did a little short story about it. It's pretty fun.
That sounds great. I love historical stuff of all kinds. That must have been great.
Yeah. That's, Charleston and Savannah, there's plenty of that.
How do you get your name out there? Mostly, how do you find your jobs? Yeah, people looking for you, or
networking? Yeah, well, I have an agent now, but basically just networking, just talking to people, keeping in touch with people, and being available. That's the main thing in this business too, being available. That they can count on you. They know they can call you up, they can offer you a role, you're going to do the best you can at it, and you're going to be there every day. That's a big deal because so many people can't. They have a life, they have a job, they have things they have to do. It's hard to be available.
We've been hearing a lot of that from the actors. Yeah, be easy to work with. And
definitely.
Yeah, get out there as much as you can. Yeah, be available. That's a great. See, that's again, any insight you can give to people. I think that's going to be one of the main themes, because let's face it, a lot of people want to do what you're doing, and they are dying to do what you're doing. And anything you can give them, please, don't hold back. Because you're helping a lot of people.
It's actually, I found doing these little short films and stuff, it's hard to find dependable people. There's a lot of people that say, yeah, I want to play and I'd love to do it and I'm available. And then when you call them up and say, I need you Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week, oh, I can't do that. That's always a problem. But it's the ones that are available that's going to keep doing it.
What are the hardest parts about it for you?
Yeah, it is. I mean, locations, I was kind of amazed in this little small town. The locations are pretty easy. If you tell people what you're doing and how many you're working with, they'll let you use their place. We had local restaurants giving us breakfast. Even some chains will feed us with no problem. If we just tell them what we're doing, we're shooting an indie film. It's all here local. We're using local motels and restaurants, and they'll be they're glad to help us out. It really helps.
Wow.
That's unreal.
Yeah, that is so cool.
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
I guess that's why you're not going to get that in LA and stuff like that, right?
No.
Probably not.
Have you done any? Have you tried to do business with any of those big cities, LA, New York, anything like that?
I haven't. I really haven't. I mean, I've done a few auditions for Tyler Perry out in Atlanta.
Oh yeah. Okay.
If I'd have booked them, I would have went. But yeah, I really don't pursue that because one reason, if I go that far, it's a hotel stay. I can't go there and back. So I really need to have enough work to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Well, in these times of COVID, they're going to slap a mask on your handsome face, but you might want to you might want to get more used to the camera. I know you love your audience, but if you really get used to the camera and make some videos and try to sell yourself that way more, I think you might end up in LA or New York suddenly. You got a nice handsome look, and I think it would play well. You should probably nurture, build yourself a little studio right where you're sitting, and send some video out.
Yeah, I'm working on that. I really am.
Because the people we talk to, they've been doing so much of that, and it's just playing the numbers, you know.
Oh yeah.
Sounds like you actually show up. You know, would you pack up and go to New York? Would you do that
For a real role?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
That's good to hear. You know? Yeah.
You should be probably, I don't know. I think you'd do really well if you did that. Mark, how did you really get yourself out there back when you were doing those things?
Well, I was in LA doing things. Like I did something in Chicago, Stranger Than Fiction. But other than that, all the work that I did when I was doing it, and I was just a fly on the wall, it was in LA. I lived in LA for 10 years. So I was right there using central casting, and that's how I booked myself. One thing I wanted to ask you, Charlie, maybe you could touch upon this, is explain why someone would make a short film. And what's the purpose of short films, if you know about that?
Well, speaking for myself, it was for me and my fellow local actors here to stay in practice because there was nothing going on, you know, and I just love being on set. If I don't film at least once a month, I start getting fidgety. I start looking for something to do, you know, make a short film, create a little horror skit, something. I just have to keep doing it. I just love it. I like directing. I mean, I like acting too, but I really do like directing and setting scenes and, you know, bringing a story to life, whether it's my story or someone else's, it really doesn't matter.
How much experience do you have directing?
Basically, my little Creepy Man series is about it. I have no real training. Back when I was doing Mr. Mercedes, like I said, I was stand-in and photo double for 2 seasons. So I was on set just about every day. And I really watched how Jack Bender shot everything. And I liked his style. And also Jerry Bruckheimer. I love his style of shooting. So that's probably the people I most look up to as directors.
And as a stand-in, let the listeners know what a stand-in is and how it's steady work, especially if you're doing it for 2 seasons.
It is steady work. If you get the stand-in for a lead actor or either a good supporting actor, you're there every day, they're there. And basically what it is somebody to give the actor a break in between scenes. After they cut, he might need to change wardrobe. He might need to rehearse lines. Somebody needs to be there in that spot for him to set cameras and lighting and microphones and all that kind of stuff. And that's what the stand-in does. He stands in so the actor can take a break. When they're ready to shoot, he steps out, the actor comes in, does his thing, he takes a break.
So how many times have you done that?
Oh, probably 7 shows.
That's pretty impressive, though.
So what was out of all those 7, what was a really, you know, uplifting experience out of all of that? And then maybe one that was a little more difficult than maybe you would have expected.
I would have to say the Sinner is the one I started with. It was it wasn't very deep, you know, emotionally. It was more of an upbeat show, and I got to meet Jessica Biel and Justin Timberlake and their son too. So that was
I love her.
Experience.
Oh yeah, it was great. Now, Mr. Mercedes is really dark. It's a Stephen King trilogy novel series. So when the weekend came and you could get out of that mindset and get back to real life for a few days, it was kind of a nice break because then you had to dive right back into it.
Wow.
But I love all of it. It doesn't matter. I like funny shows. I like horror films, you know. I stood in for Jim Belushi on a show he did here that was really funny. So that was great too.
What was the name of that one?
Man, you know, it just slipped my mind. It was only here for like 2 weeks. And I haven't even seen it played anywhere. So I really don't know right now.
I'm the same way. I couldn't tell you. And sometimes they change names. It was funny because I was working on this HBO show called it was originally the pilot. It's Mike Judge, you know, from Beavis and Butthead, King of the Hill. They originally called it Deep Tech when I was booked. And then they switched it to Silicon Valley. And it was great because, you know, I was a regular on that show, you know, just doing fly on the wall, doing background. But then they have an episode where all the Hooli, which is like, it's like Google. You're working for Google. All the Hooli employees get fired. Thanks, Mike. It was they fired everyone and just said it was all they had them all walking out. I'm like, it sounds like Google. It really does.
Yeah, you notice that with a lot of films, especially I've noticed it really if they have big name stars, their working title is different from the release title.
Oh,
I guess to
okay.
keep
I
people
never
from
knew that.
finding them.
Yeah.
I assume it's for privacy. That's the only thing I can come up with.
Okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Because you see the little signs everywhere, to set or catering or extras or whatever, and they have initials on it, but they don't really want you to know what that is.
No, they don't. That's what they do. Brian is not really familiar with this in Phoenix. They'll have it on the side of the road, by where you're supposed to park to set
Right.
or to parking or whatever, and they'll have it hidden, almost like the name of the production.
Smart, of course. They don't want people peeking in or anything.
Yeah, well, especially when you're filming on location, it's hard to control an outside crowd. You can control the crew and actors, but when people start gathering, it's hard to keep them off camera and quiet and those kind of things. Away from your actors, it's tough.
Wow,
that's
yeah.
a great point.
Yeah, I never really realized that, huh?
It's funny because now that you mentioned that, we would be filming like on location. Let's say, for instance, NCIS LA. We're filming downtown LA, or we're filming downtown Long Beach, and everyone wants to see LL Cool J. They're coming up, hey, can I get a picture with you? And he was the coolest guy. He was like, sure, but it's like they're filming, and even the LAPD could not keep them away.
No, you can't. And you can't be too rude because that's your fan base too.
Yeah.
Didn't our guest last night say the entire town was mad because of a plane crash situation they'd set up? They got really mad at them.
Oh, wow.
Caused a big mess and commotion and stuff. Yeah.
Sure.
It happens, especially in a small town. Big cities, well, Charleston's not that big, but there's so much filming been going on the past 5 or 6 years. People are kind of used to it. But when you get out of cities into a rural on location type filming, yeah, some people get pretty upset because their one little road is blocked.
That's great. So you have a family, kids, married and stuff like that?
No kids. I'm married. I've been married 23 years.
Oh, bless your heart.
Married.
That's awesome. Yeah. Does she act as well?
She does a little bit of background, but she likes running the cameras. She likes video.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, free crew. That's handy. Very handy.
Right. Yeah. She's done some background on Righteous Gemstones with me.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, you care to share any more insightful stories? Something that happened that was just really great and kept you propelled when you were maybe, not so motivated?
I'm going to mention something that probably a lot of people don't talk about.
Please.
The food on set.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Catering.
Needs to hear this.
Okay.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. I'm not going to mention any names because there's so many good ones, but you go into a restaurant and there's probably maybe 50 people and it takes you an hour to get one meal out,
Yeah.
These is like 4 guys working in the back of 2 trucks and they're feeding 150 people gourmet meals twice a day. How do they do it?
Yeah.
It is amazing. I mean, they'll have mahi and ribeye,
swordfish, yeah. You name
swordfish, yeah, and
What?
all the vegetables.
And it's
all
free.
the
Mark,
salads.
this is true, Mark?
And it's free, yeah.
Oh my
Every
God.
day.
So this is why my ticket is so expensive. I knew there was a reason. It's these damn food trucks. Oh man.
And what's funny is you basically know the show's budget if they're giving you like snacks or if they're actually feeding you,
Right?
Yeah, is it tater chips and warm water, or is it actually sandwiches?
Oh, you experienced guys do the math going in. Smart. Yeah. You know what you're facing. That's cool.
But I mean, those crew guys, actors too, but 12 hours is a normal day and 15 is not unheard of, especially now.
Yeah. So I guess they better be feeding me well 15-hour day.
2 or 3 times a day to keep going. Absolutely.
Good point.
Do you have any stories of like extreme scenes that you've been in? Like I've been in on NCIS LA. It was a ISIS hostage situation where it turned out not to be ISIS. It turned to be Irish something, ISIL or what. I don't know what it was, but we're up there in this high tower in Century City over there, which is over by Beverly Hills, and it's a 2-day call. It's a whole hostage situation, and they come in and it was it was unreal. You know, you had to really
Especially-
sit on the ground. You're being attacked.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So wait, really, what was like? How long did that take? Like you were like 8 hours on the ground. How did they attack you and stuff?
We were, running around. We were hiding. We were. Yeah, I
Oh,
have a
man.
photo with the
So
actual.
you had
ISIS.
to be like, yeah.
I have a
pretty-
photo of me in the episode with the ISIS flag upside down in it.
You better like get rid of that
It's
thing.
unreal. And then I rewatched the episode, and the episode was about something to do with a bioweapon vaccine.
Okay.
I was like, it had nothing to do. I'm like, how does that tie into these two?
Oh yeah, the crazy days we live in.
Yeah.
So what challenged you the most out of all these roles? Charlie.
I had a good featured background role on Galveston. It was filmed in Savannah 4 years ago, maybe now. It was with Elle Fanning. She was the lead. So the scene was fun and difficult because we were in a beautiful downtown Savannah home, one of the old houses. It was all white, it's all been set decorated. So the entire house was white. The furniture, the carpet, the walls, the chandeliers, the appliances, everything was white.
Awesome.
It turns out that it was my house, and I had a prostitute in there with her girlfriend. We were having a party.
Wow.
So the bad guys came in, shot me in the head, and was trying to rape my girlfriend. Okay. At that time, 3 more bad guys came in. They all had a shootout and killed my girlfriend and kidnapped her friend. So the first part of it was pretty good. We were just kind of hanging out. And then the bad guys come in and we had a 5-way or 6-way shootout. But the whole time the shootout starts, I got killed first. So I'm laying on the floor in a pool of blood while all this is going on.
Oh no, yeah, very uncomfortable for a long time.
Oh, I'm telling you, I had the blood all over me, the makeup, and in an uncomfortable position. So it was quite interesting listening to everything, but it was tough laying there playing dead.
Oh, mercy. Yes. Oh, bless your heart. Laying there saying this will pay off one day. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Anything else you care to share before we end the podcast tonight? Make sure you get that YouTube plug one more time.
Yeah, it's all caps CS Moore on YouTube.
Okay.
CS Moore with
C.S.
some
Lewis.
good horror stories. We hope it continues. I'm gonna go down there and check that out. I love that stuff.
I'll keep you guys in the loop of what we're going on with that. I'm probably going to release that last Creepy Man episode. I would hope within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And of course, that'll be on YouTube, and I'll keep you posted on that. And anything else that comes up, if anything spectacular happens, if I get a good booking, I'll be sure and let you know.
That's
Oh,
fantastic.
love it.
We'd love to
Yeah.
have you back. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, anything else you want to leave us with? Ask Mark?
No, you were such a great guest, Charlie. I just want to say for Brian and I and for Charlie, this is Mark 2.0. Make sure to subscribe to us on our YouTube platform. That way you can put a face to us. You can see our great setup. You can see Charlie's great setup. Mark 2.0. Just look for the Blue Moon logo, as Brian says.
Thanks for being here, everybody. And we hope to see you in the next video.
Yes.
Awesome.
Have a
Mark
good night.
2.0.
Bye-bye.